There is a presence within you that knows no impossibility. It formed the galaxies, breathed life into dust, and keeps your heart beating this very moment, without your permission. Now, hear this. What man cannot do, this infinite power can do through you. You may be standing at the edge of your logic, staring into a situation your intellect cannot solve. But you are not at the end. You are at the beginning of something greater, because divine power begins where human logic ends. There comes a moment in every individual's life when human reason, analysis, and effort reach a point of exhaustion. The mind calculates, evaluates, and strategizes, but eventually it meets a wall, a limit. And it is precisely at this point, this sacred threshold, that divine power begins to unfold. When the intellect no longer has answers, and the senses report failure, we are ushered into the domain of the unseen, the spiritual, the infinite. The logical mind functions well within the boundaries of the known. It depends on facts, figures, timelines, and patterns. But there are realms of life, health, relationships, purpose, inner healing, where logic stands powerless, and something greater must take over. You may have done everything that could be done humanly, seen the doctors, read the books, taken the courses, applied the principles, and yet the breakthrough has not come. That is not the end. It is the beginning. For divine power was never meant to be a backup plan. It is the original source of all that is good, whole, and miraculous. The problem with many is they worship reason. They've made a god out of intellect. But divine power is not subject to syllogisms or scientific method. It flows when the heart surrenders, and the inner man says, I let go. I let God. At the moment when you abandon the need to control every outcome, something shifts. That which is infinite steps in and begins to orchestrate events with a wisdom far beyond your comprehension. In your moments of confusion and helplessness, don't say, I failed. Say, I've arrived, because your logic brought you this far, but grace will take you the rest of the way. Divine power does not require your understanding. It requires your agreement. And agreement happens when the soul says yes, without needing to know how. All throughout history, the greatest transformations have happened not at the height of logic, but at the end of it. Moses did not part the Red Sea with reason. He moved in faith. Jesus did not feed the multitudes through mathematics. He moved in compassion. The walls of Jericho did not fall because of calculated architecture. They fell by obedience to divine instruction. These are not fairy tales. They are illustrations of a principle that is as alive today as it was then. When human logic ends, divine power begins. You may be asking, how do I tap into this power? The answer is not effort, it is awareness. Begin to recognize that there is a wisdom and power within you that transcends your conscious mind. It is the God presence that dwells in your subconscious, the still small voice that guides you beyond reasoning. When you affirm spiritual truths like divine intelligence governs my life, or infinite power is at work in me now, you are not wishing. You are invoking, you are giving permission for higher laws to override the lower ones. Remember, logic is useful, but limited. It is a lamp, not the sun. It can light a small room, but it cannot power the universe. Divine power is the sun. It is the source, and when you connect to it through faith, receptivity, and spiritual alignment, it takes you places logic never could. The door may be closed, the facts may be against you, the odds may be low, but none of that matters, because you are not living by the report of man, but by the law of spirit. You may not see the whole staircase, but take the first step. Divine power honors motion. Logic hesitates. Spirit flows. Move toward what you desire in faith. Speak what you believe, not what you fear. Hold fast to the inner conviction that what God has prepared for you is beyond what any eye has seen or ear has heard. You are not waiting on a miracle. The miracle is waiting on your belief. When logic reaches its limits, rejoice, because now the Almighty takes center stage. Your subconscious mind is the channel of God's miracle-working power. There is a silent partner in everything you do, everything you become, everything you experience. It is not your will, nor your conscious thought, but your subconscious mind, the sacred inner chamber where divine impressions are received and fulfilled. This part of you does not argue, debate, or question. It simply accepts what it is told repeatedly with feeling, and brings it to pass with precision. You may not realize it, but your subconscious mind is always listening. It is the fertile soil upon which every seed of thought is planted. What you sow into it, whether fear or faith, despair or hope, confusion or clarity, will eventually grow into the visible conditions of your life. But here's the great truth. When you fill your subconscious mind with the truths of God, you open the gate for divine power to flow unhindered. The subconscious is the creative faculty within you. It never sleeps, never stops working. Day and night, it accepts the blueprint you give it, and begins to build according to that image. If you constantly say, "Nothing ever works out for me," or "I'm always sick," your subconscious will carry out that instruction, not because it hates you, but because it is obedient. Likewise, if you affirm, "The healing power of God is restoring every cell in my body," or "Divine abundance flows through me," your subconscious accepts that as law and sets the wheels of providence in motion. Many people pray consciously but contradict themselves subconsciously. They say, "God, heal me," while feeling panic and doubt deep inside. But the subconscious responds not to words alone, but to feeling. This is why a fearful heart nullifies a hopeful mouth. You must align the two. When your conscious thought and subconscious feeling are united in faith, miracles are inevitable. And know this: your subconscious is not separate from God. It is the vehicle through which God expresses. When Jesus said, "The kingdom of God is within you," he was speaking not of a place, but of a principle. The indwelling Spirit does not work outside of you. It works through the medium of your own mental and emotional state. There are laws that govern this interaction. Just as gravity is not personal but precise, so is the law of mind. If you impress your subconscious with thoughts of wholeness, love, joy, and success, and do so consistently, your outer world must mirror the inner belief. And if your impressions are rich with spiritual truth, such as "God is the source of my supply," or "Infinite wisdom guides my every step," then your life becomes the stage for divine demonstration. So many ask why their prayers go unanswered. It is not that God withholds. It is that the channel is blocked. The subconscious has been filled with images of doubt, fear, bitterness, and lack, and it is these very images that must be dissolved. The process of renewal begins with new impressions. Speak to your subconscious, not as a servant, but as a sacred altar. Guard the gate of your mind. Do not let any thought pass into it without asking, "Is this of God? Is this of truth? Is this of love?" You don't need to beg the infinite to act. You need only align with it. You don't need to manipulate external conditions. You need only recondition your inner mind. When the subconscious is saturated with divine truth, healing flows like water, supply appears like sunlight, and guidance becomes as natural as breath. What you decree with faith, you invite into form. There is a creative force in your words, when they are spoken from the deep center of belief, not idle speech, not vain repetition, but a decree, an affirmation spoken with full awareness of spiritual authority, is a command to the unseen to shape itself into the seen. Words are not mere sounds. They are spiritual containers. When they are filled with faith, they carry the vibrations that echo through the unseen corridors of the universe and return clothed in form, function, and fact. Every decree is a spiritual instruction. When you say, "I am healed," and you believe it, even while the body may still report symptoms, you are not denying the condition, you are declaring the truth behind it. For what you see is temporary, but what you affirm in faith is eternal. Your decree shifts the focus from sense evidence to spiritual certainty. The world may tell you that's not real, but remember, the world has always followed the words of the faithful. In ancient times, kings did not ask. They decreed. Their words were law. So too is your role as a spiritual sovereign. You are made in the image of the Creator, not to beg reality, but to shape it. To decree is not to hope weakly. It is to assert dominion over the inner realm that gives birth to all outer expressions. The law of mind responds to the vibration of your decree, not the volume of your voice. It responds to your conviction, not your emotion. Now many people say affirmations, but they do so without the inner certainty required to make them effective. They say, "I am prosperous," but deep down believe in struggle. They say, "I am at peace," but continue to meditate on chaos. The decree is not in the phrase, it is in the force behind it. Faith is the engine that drives the word from sound to substance. When you speak from faith, the universe reconfigures itself to accommodate your spiritual alignment. Why? Because you are not creating reality. You are invoking the reality that already exists in the spiritual dimension. Everything you could ever need, want, or imagine exists now in the invisible realm, awaiting the decree that brings it into your experience. The decree spoken in fear brings forth fear's fruit. The decree spoken in faith brings forth divine outcomes. Say, "I am loved," and love finds its way. Say, "Divine order governs my steps," and doors begin to open. Say, "I am a channel of abundance," and watch how life responds. But say it not to impress others. Say it to impress your own subconscious. For that is the gateway. That is the soil. And once the seed is planted, it must grow. Decreeing is not magic. It is law. It is not superstition. It is science. Spiritual science. The principle is immutable. Just as heat melts ice, so does faith-filled speech dissolve barriers. You do not need to see how it will happen. The mechanism is not your concern. The decree is your part. The demonstration is God's. When you speak the word with certainty, life obeys. Many say, "I will believe it when I see it." But the true initiate says, "I will see it because I believe it." There is a sacred alignment that takes place when your inner word matches your outer action. When you speak as though it is already done, and walk as though it cannot fail, the entire structure of reality begins to shift in your favor. Why? Because your decree has summoned the divine pattern. You are not powerless. You are not a victim of circumstances. You are the agent of change, the spiritual authority, the voice through which the infinite makes itself known. Your words are seeds, and your faith is the water. Every time you speak with belief, you are giving form to the formless, calling forth the invisible, commanding the energies of the unseen to manifest in time and space. Do not speak carelessly. Do not talk defeat. Do not repeat what the world says. If it contradicts the truth of God in you, speak from the kingdom within. Declare what spirit knows to be real, even when the senses are still catching up. Let your mouth be the pen, your faith the ink, and your life the canvas. For what you decree with faith, you invite into form. Delays are not denials. They are spiritual preparations. In the journey of spiritual unfoldment, one of the most misunderstood realities is delay. The human mind, conditioned by time and urgency, sees waiting as a form of punishment, a sign that things are going wrong. But in truth, a delay is often a divine orchestration, a necessary pause in the visible, while invisible arrangements are being perfected. You may pray for healing, for a breakthrough, for an open door, and when it doesn't come immediately, your first thought may be, "I've been ignored." But the Spirit never ignores you. The silence is not rejection. It is gestation. The seed does not sprout the moment it is planted. It abides in stillness, while roots grow downward, and systems align beneath the surface. Delays are often the protective shield of divine wisdom. Sometimes what you ask for prematurely could harm you rather than bless you. And so the infinite pauses, not to withhold but to prepare the environment, to prepare others involved, and most of all to prepare you. For in the delay, something sacred happens. Your faith deepens, your character strengthens, your ego diminishes, your trust is refined. If the manifestation were instant, you might miss the transformation, but in the quiet waiting, your soul is forged, your motives are purified, and your capacity to receive expands. The delay teaches you that your good is not outside of you, but within. It forces you inward, to that secret place where peace does not depend on outcomes. It reminds you that your joy is not in the thing hoped for, but in the presence that walks with you through the process. The journey becomes the blessing, not just the destination. Do not confuse spiritual timing with human deadlines. The infinite does not operate on clock. It works in cycles, seasons, and divine flow. Just as the moon waxes and wanes, just as the tide rises and falls, so do the rhythms of manifestation move in sacred harmony. Your job is not to control the timing, but to align with the trust that all is unfolding perfectly. Often what appears as a delay is a divine redirection. You think you were meant to go one way, but behind the scenes, Spirit is steering you toward something far better. The no you received was not a punishment. It was a yes in disguise, a yes to your highest good, not just your current desire. You see, divine mind sees the whole, and sees what lies ahead, what you cannot yet perceive. So, when the thing you want seems to stall, understand that it is either being refined, upgraded, or exchanged for something more in tune with your divine blueprint. Do not let delay produce despair. Let it cultivate depth. Continue to speak your affirmations. Continue to visualize the end result. Continue to act in faith. The delay is not the void. It is the womb. Something is forming, maturing, aligning. Keep your vibration high. Keep your expectation alive. The oak tree does not appear overnight. The sun takes time to rise, and so does the answer you've prayed for, spoken for, believed for. It may not come when your conscious mind expected it, but it will come when the soil of your soul is ready to hold it without breaking. The delay is not punishment, it is preparation. It is God shaping you, strengthening you, enlarging your inner container so that when the blessing comes, it finds a vessel ready to hold it with grace, gratitude, and groundedness. Align with infinite intelligence, not human limitation. The greatest shift a person can make is to cease leaning on limited human reasoning and instead align with the infinite intelligence that governs all life. This intelligence is not abstract, it is real, present, active, and available to every man and woman who seeks its guidance. It is not separate from you. It is the very mind of God expressing through you. When you align with this boundless wisdom, you move beyond restriction, beyond struggle, beyond the confines of material perception. Human limitation is the product of conditioned thinking. From birth, we are fed thoughts of lack, separation, fear, and defeat. We are taught to measure possibilities based on appearances, statistics, and past experiences. But infinite intelligence is not bound by appearances. It does not consult your bank account before it supplies you. It does not inquire about your medical history before it heals you. It does not require a map, because it already knows the destination. When you align with it, you are no longer operating from history. You are operating from eternity. To align with infinite intelligence is to move into a state of spiritual agreement. It is to say, I choose to think God's thoughts after Him. I choose to see as Spirit sees, to trust as Spirit trusts, to create as Spirit creates. You cannot receive new outcomes while operating from old mindsets. You must exchange the mental habit of limitation for the divine pattern of expansion. And that begins by recognizing that you are not separate from the source. You are an extension of it. Within you right now is access to divine solutions, creative ideas, healing energies, and unlimited supply. They do not need to be earned or chased. They need to be realized. Realization comes from recognition. As long as you see yourself as a mere human struggling through a broken world, you remain entangled in limitation. But the moment you remember who you are, a spiritual being, a vessel of the infinite, an image bearer of divine power, you begin to rise. Infinite intelligence cannot operate fully through a mind closed by fear. It requires openness, surrender, and a willingness to be led. That is why quietness of mind is so essential. In stillness, you tune into the divine frequency. In stillness, you stop trying to figure things out with intellect and begin to receive instruction from the higher mind. Inspiration never screams. It whispers, and you must be inwardly quiet to hear it. The error many make is that they continue to pray from a place of fear, visualizing worst-case scenarios while begging for a miracle. But alignment does not come from begging. It comes from agreement. You must agree with the reality of your divine source. Agree that healing is your birthright. Agree that abundance is natural. Agree that wisdom is already within you, guiding you step by step. This is not fantasy. It is spiritual law. When you align with infinite intelligence, you begin to notice divine order in all things. Delays make sense. Interruptions become redirections. Closed doors become protection. Even pain becomes a teacher. You realize that nothing is random in the life of one who is tuned to the Spirit. Everything has purpose. Everything is working together for good. Not because of fate, but because of faith. Human limitation says, I don't see how this can happen. But infinite intelligence says, I know all paths, all timings and all outcomes. Human limitation looks at obstacles. Infinite intelligence looks through them. Human limitation measures according to logic. Infinite intelligence measures according to law. And spiritual law always overrides material appearance when rightly applied. To align with this intelligence is to live in flow. You stop pushing, forcing, and striving. You begin to listen, receive, and move in harmony with divine timing. You become less reactive, more responsive. You develop inner stillness, outer confidence, and a sense of peace that does not depend on the external world. This alignment must be cultivated daily. Through prayer, affirmation, meditation, and inner reflection, you cleanse your mental atmosphere and return to spiritual truth. It is not enough to align once. You must remain aligned. Just as a musician must tune their instrument before every performance, you must tune your mind to the frequency of the infinite every morning, every challenge, every decision. This is not about religious dogma. It is about spiritual reality. Infinite intelligence is not a distant force. It is the very breath of your being, and when you let go of the egoic need to control and figure it all out, this intelligence flows unimpeded through every area of your life. Speak from the end. Declare the outcome, not the obstacle. One of the most powerful secrets in spiritual demonstration is the principle of speaking from the end. This is not wishful thinking. It is divine alignment. To speak from the end is to position yourself mentally and emotionally in the state where your desire is already fulfilled, and then to speak, act, and feel from that position. The spiritual realm does not respond to begging. It responds to belief, and belief always speaks as if it is already done. When you declare the outcome rather than the obstacle, you are not being delusional. You are being faithful. You are exercising the creative faculty that has been placed within you by the Creator. Life does not move by what you see. It moves by what you declare. Words are not passive. They are causative. And the most potent words are those spoken from the position of completed reality. You do not say, one day I will be healed. You say, I am healed now in the name of the living presence. You do not say, I hope to have peace someday. You say, the peace of God governs my mind now. You are not lying. You are aligning. The subconscious mind, which is the creative instrument of spirit within you, does not differentiate between real and imagined, future or present. It takes what you feel and speak repeatedly, and brings it into experience. To speak from the end is to call those things which be not as though they were, not in arrogance but in assurance. You are not trying to make something happen. You are revealing what already is in the invisible realm. You are commanding the unseen to take shape in your life. This is not about force. It is about focus. The error of most people is that they constantly talk about the mountain instead of talking to it. They rehearse the problem, the symptoms, the delay. They magnify the obstacle by giving it their words and emotions. But spiritual power does not flow toward what you fear. It flows toward what you affirm. When you speak constantly of the issue, you give it life. When you speak the truth of the outcome, you give life to the solution. This principle was demonstrated throughout sacred scripture. The prophets, the healers, the masters, they always spoke from the end. Your faith has made you whole, not you will be made whole. Lazarus, come forth. Not let's hope something happens. They understood that words, when aligned with spiritual truth, carry creative authority. And so must you. Begin to see yourself already in possession of what you desire. Walk around your day in the feeling of the answered prayer. Speak to yourself and to others from the victory, not the valley. Let your conversations be rooted in the assumption that what you have asked for is already yours. This is not arrogance. It is obedience to the spiritual law that whatsoever you desire, when you pray, believe that you receive it and you shall have it. You are not just a body moving through time. You are a spiritual being living in eternity. And all realities already exist in the dimension of spirit. You are simply choosing which one you will experience through the focus of your attention and the authority of your words. Speak from the end. Declare the outcome. See it, feel it, embody it, and allow the world around you to rearrange itself in obedience to your inner decree. Spiritual law responds to belief, not begging. The divine does not respond to the volume of your cry, but the vibration of your belief. Many plead with God out of fear, but pleading implies doubt, and doubt blocks the flow of spiritual power. The law of spirit is precise, just like gravity. It operates based on inner conviction, not desperation. You may say all the right words, but if they are empty of faith, they produce no change. It is not the repetition of a phrase, but the feeling behind it that activates the law. When you believe with calm assurance that what you've asked for is already done, the spiritual machinery begins to move. Belief is the signal. Begging is the noise. True prayer is a confident declaration of divine truth, spoken with the authority of one who knows they are backed by the infinite. Faith is the key that turns the lock. Not emotion, not effort, not endless asking, but deep, unwavering spiritual certainty. You are never alone. The presence walks with you, within you. There is a sacred power that walks beside you and resides within you at all times. Even when your mind feels scattered, your heart feels heavy, and your path feels uncertain, the presence remains. It is the very breath within your breath, the silence beneath every thought, the light that cannot be extinguished. This presence is not distant, not waiting in the sky. It is closer than your hands and feet, nearer than your own heartbeat. When you quiet the outer noise and turn inward, you begin to sense the subtle guidance, the inner wisdom, the quiet assurance that you are being led, upheld, and surrounded by divine love. You were never meant to carry the weight of life alone. The presence goes before you, prepares the way, and walks through every shadow with you, not as a visitor, but as your eternal companion. Miracles are natural when the mind is attuned to truth. A miracle is not a violation of natural law. It is the fulfillment of higher law. When your mind is attuned to divine truth, miracles become not rare exceptions, but natural expressions. As you clear away fear, doubt, and limiting beliefs, you make room for the spiritual pattern to unfold. Truth is the vibration of harmony, wholeness, abundance, and peace. When your thoughts align with that vibration, life flows effortlessly. The miraculous becomes ordinary, not because it is less powerful, but because you are now in tune with the rhythm of the infinite. Miracles are not earned. They are revealed when the clutter of false thinking is removed. As you think truth, feel truth, and live from truth, you begin to experience results that defy logic, yet feel perfectly right. This is the rhythm of spirit, a place where the extraordinary becomes your new norm. God works through you, not around you. Be the vessel. Divine power does not bypass you. It expresses through you. You are not waiting for something to drop from the sky. You are the channel through which heaven touches earth. Every thought you hold, every word you speak, and every belief you nurture shapes the space through which God flows. To be a vessel means to be available, open and surrendered. It means choosing faith over fear, cooperation over resistance. The Spirit does not force its way. It waits for your invitation. Your consciousness is the doorway. When you align your mind and heart with truth, you become the very instrument of healing, provision, guidance, and peace. God's work is not external manipulation. It is internal illumination, showing you who you truly are, and expressing itself through your willingness to embody divine order and love. You have now walked through 10 spiritual doorways, each one revealing a law, a principle, a truth, more powerful than the last. You've discovered that divine power begins not in the mind of man, but in the mind of God. You've seen that your subconscious is not a mystery. It is the sacred channel through which heaven expresses on earth. You now know that your words spoken with faith are not echoes. They are edicts that shape reality. You've been reminded that when the world says delay, Spirit is saying prepare. You've shifted from limitation to alignment, from wishing to decreeing, from outer chaos to inner calm. You now understand that you were never waiting on God. God was waiting on you to agree. And in that agreement, miracles become normal, delays become divine, and every word you speak from truth becomes law in your experience. This entire journey is pointed to one sacred truth. God does not act around you. God acts through you. You are not the problem. You are the portal. You are not separate from power. You are its living, breathing vessel. And so, beloved, as you step away from this message, do not return to the old thoughts, the old fears, the old patterns. Step into the new mind, the aligned mind, the miraculous mind. Say it aloud. I am the channel, I am the vessel. I am the expression of the infinite now. If this message stirred something within you, subscribe to the channel, where we awaken divine power and plant seeds of unshakable truth. You are not waiting on a move of God. You are the move of God. Walk in it. Speak from it. Let it live.